Okay, we're back. It's been a while since we made a video, but there's some little things that's been going on. You may notice that I got the car on a rotisserie now, and I've used this rotisserie several times. It really makes getting underneath of it a lot better. Of course, as you see, we've replaced the floor rails and the front frame rails on the car. Rust, but when we get to the back, there was some rust in the floor pan, but there's no rust in the rear torque boxes and the rear frame rails. Who knows? Anyway, so what I'll be doing now is using a heat gun and a scraper to get the old undercoating off of the car. Anyway, natural, or not natural, but the factory split of the floor pan was right here. So we replaced the floor pans up until this, and the trunk pan, which is this generally what I refer to this as, it looks fine. I just got to use some solvent. I usually use paint thinner and a heat gun to soften this stuff up, and it scrapes off pretty easily. And then I use a scuff pad to clean it up, along with more solvent. Usually there's a lot of controversy of what the color of the car was underneath. I'm not an expert on it. I do know that a lot of Dearborn cars used a mixture of paint from previous builds along with black to paint underneath the cars, which made them, the underneath of the cars range anywhere from bluish to green to sometimes dark red, but it was basically a mixture of the previous day's paint. This was a Matuchin car. I don't know if they use that same system. There are variances between the different manufacturing plants. But I do happen to know that this car was actually red, or red primer underneath. You can see it right here. And right here. Usually a good place to find it is above the spring purchase, which if the rubber's never been out, you'll see what color the car was painted before it actually started to be assembled. But on these cars, the whole thing is painted, and when I finish painting this car underneath, when I get the rear all scraped off, all the undercoating scraped off, and like I want it, pretty much all this will be painted red oxide, and this too. I won't be painting this red oxide. It's already black, but I'll paint all the underneath of it red oxide, and then I'll come when the car is back from paint. I will paint the engine bay black, and which will leave pretty much all the stuff under here that you can't see, that you can't get to from the top. It'll still be red primer, red oxide. Anyway, so what I'm going to be doing next is basically getting the undercoating and getting the back, say, quarter of the car ready for its red oxide primer. I won't be messing with the wheel wells because they'll be undercoated anyway and then painted black. But everything's welded in, and some of the sealing's been done. I've actually used a seam sealer compound. There's thousands of them on the market, and you just, like a caulking gun, this stuff sets up pretty quick, and that will help seal out water and also and cracks in the structure. So that's basically where we sit right now with this. This shouldn't take too long. It's just not a job that I really look forward to doing. So I've been messing with other things to sort of delay working on this. One thing I am working on is these cars, when they were built, they had very little safety features about them. I mean, they had padded dashes and they had seat belts. But there was a lot of things that they do on cars now they didn't do on these. One thing that they do on cars now, which I think is a good idea, is there's a clutch interlock feature, which basically says the clutch needs to be down before the car will start. And that's to prevent somebody from just starting the car in gear. That can cause accidents. So what I will do, and if you'll notice here, this is the clutch and brake pedal. That's the brake pedal. This is the clutch pedal. You can see the assist spring back here. That's an over-center assist spring. It basically holds it up. Once you push it about 10 or 15 degrees, it will actually push the other way, and it helps actually disengage the clutch. So the clutch bar goes through here. The brake master cylinder goes on that. This bolts to the firewall. This bolts to the upper dash assembly. And there's several brackets that that bolt to it that makes it pretty strong. But I took this apart, cleaned it, painted it, greased it, put new bushings in the cross beam or the crossbar here that supports these. So there's very little play in these now. But one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have an interlock or build an interlock. First thing I started to do was use a switch, which basically built a bracket, and the switch had to be depressed. This is normally open, and when it's pushed, it's closed. So, and you can get switches the other way around. So I was going to actually do that and rig a bracket up so that when the clutch was pushed down, this was pushed in, and put the bracket back here somewhere so it actually came in contact with something. I may have used this right here, I'm not sure. But I was sort of wary that this may actually get out of adjustment and the car won't start. So I went to another method, and you hear that beep. And this is a mercury switch, and basically it's basically off now. You tilt it, you hear that beep. So I got the continuity, and it goes off. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to hook this actually in the circuit that goes from the ignition switch, which initiates the start of the car. And it starts, let's see, right here. And it actually goes through the neutral start switch if it was an automatic. If it had the tilt wheel, it would, or the tilt pop away wheel, which was on some cars in '69, it would actually go through that. And it winds up over here to the solenoid. So basically what I'm going to do is work it into the wiring diagram. And it's wire number 32. And 32 is a red wire with a blue stripe. And it will actually work with this switch here. So the tilt has got to be right to actually start the car. Now, then you think, what could go wrong? Well, what could go wrong is somebody could have it parked on a hill, and there would be no way this would actually go on. So I decided to actually put an override to that, and I'll have this under the dash, which will actually close the circuit in case it's parked at a certain angle and it can't, it won't start. So that's my plans there. This is apt to change. This is sort of engineered on the go as you do it. But I do want a sort of a clutch depression override for the start circuit on this car. One more thing I'm working on that I've sort of, and this is something I've put off because I don't want to do it, but I'm decided to do it because I'd rather mess with this than scrape undercoating off underneath of a car. Remember, I used to do this when I was younger. I would do this with the car on jack stands. It was terrible. I don't know if I was just because I was younger. I just wasn't as smart. But I sold one car one time, and I said, well, the first $1,200-$1,500 I'm going to put out of the profit on this car, I'm going to buy me a rotisserie, and I did, and I've never regretted it. But anyway, this is the transmission that came out of this car. This is numbers matching. It's hard to see. I can see T188163 there if you sort of hold your eyes right. But that's where they stamped it there in the cast iron. There's also numbers stamped on the back of the engine. We may have showed you that in a previous video. But since I never got to drive the car, I don't know if this transmission is in good shape or not. It's a Ford top loader. It's a, I think it's a wide ratio, so it's got a 278 low gear. And so I drained all the fluid out of it. You can't smell gear oil on this video, but believe me, it's not something you want to smell a lot of. So I set it up on something I can roll it around with because it's kind of heavy. Drained the gear oil out of it, and I didn't see any pieces come out with it. And here's the bottom drain plug, and you can see it's got two little magnets in it, and they pick up little bits of debris, usually metal, from wear inside the transmission. Of course, it's all cast, so there could have been some to begin with, but I doubt it. So there's probably some wear in there, although the blocker rings, which assist in the synchros, are non-magnetic. So I don't know. What I'll eventually do is scrape some of the gunk off of it here and pop the top here and put a new gasket on the top, new seal. And I got a plug in there to kind of keep this from running out of the back if it got tilted. And there's a seal on the front up here from the retaining bracket. But anyway, I'll open it up and look in it. Another thing to be concerned about here is the shifter. Now, Ford on the this is a Ford design shifter, and they're not the best shifters in the world. The thing that's generally done is people replace these with Hurst Competition Pluses, but they gotten so expensive. You're looking at probably $800 to put one in, and it's a good shifter, no doubt. In maybe 69, I know 70, Ford utilized a sort of a hybrid Ford Hurst shifter in these cars, and here is an old one right here, and the stick was mounted in rubber, and it was inserted after the engine and transmission were put in the car, which aided in the manufacture. But you get this little groove right here. You got a chrome stick that sticks out of it. I don't have one, and it's a little wobbly, so that puts loose motion in the shifting mechanism. And the way they have rubber or hard nylon bushings that go in here, and the shift levers right here have little rods on them that actually pop into these, and then they adjust down here. With the Ford shifter, they actually work the other way around. They're stationary here. You can see the cotter pin that goes through there, and then they're adjustable here. So there's actually, I'm sure there's some sort of procedure in the service manual to line everything up, and then you adjust everything so neutral is where it should be. And you can see right here, this is switching from the 3/4 gate to the 1/2 gate. And I believe once it goes, yeah, it goes over to the reverse. So that goes into the reverse gate right there. We'll look to get this rebuilt, and I'll probably utilize this shifter if I can. The reason for that is because this car was not raced. It wasn't used in a performance way. I mean, back then it wasn't really a performance car, but 3-to-1 4-speed, yeah, that pretty much puts it in sort of that category now. So I'm sort of banking on the fact that the adult that drove this car didn't slam on the shifter a whole lot and wear it out. So I'll take it apart, and I believe there's some bolts and I don't know, inside of it. I haven't taken it apart yet. But you can see the reverse switch. This is how the wire came. It got cut. It got broke. It got, I don't know. First lights quit working. We're hoping this transmission is in good shape. I didn't have a chance to drive it. You could tell, but if I have to go in it, I can. I've been in them before. It's been a few years, so it'll be basically a learning experience all over again. But that'll be fun. That'll be fun. I'm sure when if I have to go in it, I'll certainly want some undercoating to scrape to keep from having to do it. But anyway, that's where we stand right now. There's a lot of little things around. I got the rear end housing there that it's out of the car. It'll be taken apart and cleaned. The brakes were done not long ago. Well, they're probably done 10 years ago, but they weren't used. So everything, all the brake hardware is new, and you can see the drums are new. But that'll be part of it, and that'll go back in with springs. Anyway, that's where we're at. Now, I appreciate you watching these videos. You never know. There's a ton of people restoring '69 Mustangs. I guess it's like when one person has it, they all have it. And I watch them because I get a lot of hints. If you have any thoughts or questions or comments, please just pop me a message, and I'll try to respond to them. And if you're subscribed, I do appreciate you subscribing. If you're watching, I certainly appreciate that. I'd like for you to give some consideration to subscribing if you're watching this video. And if you certainly have any comments or thoughts, please let me know that too. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll have a video a little sooner than we had last time. Thank you.